Aya, what do you make of Ethereum's latest run? Does it have to do with the merge or something more?
Absolutely. Sonali hit the nail on the head. I think right now we're seeing two things in the market. The first is with the bullish activity around Bitcoin, possibly fueled by the news that Terra was planning on purchasing roughly $3 billion worth of Bitcoin for their treasury. And then seeing a lot of hedge funds and retail investors and aggregators taking profit share off of Bitcoin and transferring that into ETH and altcoins, as Sonali mentioned, into that ETH 2.0 merge and the excitement around that.
Well, two questions there for you. What more heat do you have behind ETH when you see some of the money already moving over? And what more room do more altcoins like Terra have to run here with that excitement that other funds have behind it?
So a lot of it has to do with the growth of the applications that are being built on top of these layer ones. So whether it's Ethereum or you're seeing that price activity also happening on top of layer ones like Avalanche this week, and a lot of that interoperability happening with bridging Bitcoin into these different layer ones and being able to use that store value asset as collateral for usage on those platforms, in addition just to overall more protocols and projects working on the travel rule and tackling that in order to make DeFi more accessible. All of these are very exciting for the application of these layer ones.
Meantime, Aya, we're still seeing Bitcoin trade within this fairly narrow range, and it's been happening now going on 2 months. Why is that, given all of the activity?
A lot of it has to do with the fact that Bitcoin is now adopted by institutions. And so we're seeing that volatility drop, which really means the mass adoption, both with what we're seeing across the desk in the conversations we're having with institutions across the board. And you're starting to see Bitcoin trade very similar to some of the assets in traditional finance. And so in general, there's more liquidity in the markets. And you're seeing Bitcoin and the price of Bitcoin being driven by institutions as opposed to crypto native volatility traders.
It's still gotten a good lift here over the last couple of weeks. It has really proven itself in some ways, but what is really going to give Bitcoin another leg here and make more institutions comfortable with the cryptocurrency?
So, there are a number of institutions still going through due diligence with applying Bitcoin, whether it's onto their balance sheet or into their investment thesis. So we still don't have 100% of institutions in crypto. And so we're starting to and continuing to see that trickle roll into the space as institutions are looking for a store value asset and also just for returns across their portfolio in a market as today.
Meantime, FalconX has some pretty big ambitions to get the next billion crypto users on board. Reports that you've earmarked $150 million for acquisitions globally. Talk to us about your expansion plans.
So we're really excited about the talent that we've brought on to our executive team. Very excited about Susie Walter, Sujay Jalati, and John Kaplan coming to us from Bloomberg, Carta, Ripple, and Pinterest, and having that caliber of talent joining us with a vision of a tokenized future.
You know, you mentioned before about this preference for some funds to get into Ether. I'm wondering, as you talk to all of these institutions, as you grow, how much is energy consumption a topic as you go along?
ESG is very much top of mind. And so to the earlier point that you mentioned, this transition from proof of work to proof of stake is going to be very, very important to the adoption that institutions view for Ethereum.
How are you watching the war on Ukraine as it plays out? Obviously, we've seen Bitcoin be used for humanitarian efforts. We've seen this executive order from President Biden, but there are also these remaining concerns about Russians specifically using cryptocurrency for illicit things to circumvent sanctions, for example. How does all of this continue to play out?
Specific to Ukraine, what we've seen in the effort to support Ukraine, whether it's within Ukraine itself via DAOs or NFT projects or more global Ukrainian projects, it's really just the validation that cryptocurrency is adopted and the interest is widespread. We're seeing that real-time value in action across this currency system. And more broadly, very in terms of how it looks for all of the players in the ecosystem, we're continuing business as usual with the continued KYC AML that we have across the board, which is also super important about the underlying blockchain and its ability to be traceable and trackable.
And there's this question going on also about, whether Bitcoin can really replace traditional currencies, what function it has for example, Ukrainians who are using it to convert their money or to raise money via NFTs or Ethereum or otherwise. When you're talking to institutions as well, do they see it becoming a replacement over some period of time?
That's a great question. I would say today institutions aren't viewing these major cryptocurrency assets as replacements, more so as something that goes alongside. More really where the focus is around stable coins and that widespread adoption and the way it's being adopted overall across all of the institutions using it today.